Hi, Krystyn.
Hello, Krystyn.
Oh, she's whipping out that man voice.
Hello, Mr. Hauk. Mrs. Hauk.
So,
what's Charles's middle name?
Awesome Sauce.
Hello, Mrs. Charles Awesome Sauce Hauk.
I got him a pickleball towel for Christmas. It says "See Awesome Sauce Hauk" on it.
Amazing. That'd be cool if that was actually someone's middle name.
He had Evie convinced of it for a long time, but
Awesome Sauce?
Yeah. That's how it came about. Oh, man. He's upstairs working right now. We're at our house recording today, and it's a little bit warmer than it has been. It has been like frigidly cold. We left the other morning and it was
negative
4 degrees.
Yeah.
4 of them.
Yes, 4.
Just 4 of them.
Not even a full hand.
Nope.
4 fingers. That was the same day that Emmeline decided to go to school in a hoodie.
My child also did that, and she went to swim with the tiniest shorts ever made on the face of the planet on.
This is part of the research you're doing about letting them fail, right?
Yeah, you have to let them fail themselves.
Yeah.
I've been doing all sorts of research on this because it's the natural consequence. I mean, think about how many times when you were a kid that your parents told you not to do something or to do something a certain way or that something was going to happen. Mm-hmm. You were like, fuck off. I mean, you maybe didn't tell them to fuck off, but in your mind, you definitely told them to get fucked.
I wish I knew all those cool terms when I was a kid.
I know. I wish that I would be like, you know what? You can get fucked.
Do you know what I would have probably 100% said? Because I was such a goody two-shoes, really. Just probably would have told them to shut up. You shut up. Shut up.
Stop
in
it.
My brain.
Stop it.
I wouldn't actually say that out loud.
Stop speaking.
Yeah. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Name that movie. Yeah. Moving on. Movie or trivia?
Whatever. I know things.
Do you know who invented the light bulb?
It depends on which episode you guys go back to, but it's either Albert Einstein or Benjamin Franklin, according to Rachel. It is, you know who it's not? That damn Thomas Edison.
No, that fucker did not invent the light bulb.
Taking claim.
Edison light bulb.
Taking everybody else's glory.
What a cool invention. Thanks for inventing that. You have now prolonged what should be sleep time and rest time into potentially working.
I don't know if you're being like sarcastic.
Maybe a little bit of both. I'm a little salty.
I feel like you're being very passive-aggressive towards Thomas Edison right now.
I am. We needed it, but then at the same time, fuck you, dude.
Man, poor Tommy E. getting a bad rap on this podcast start to finish.
I wonder what his nickname was, like legit back in the day.
I literally just gave it to him.
Yeah, I know, Tommy E. Tommy E. from Boston? Where's he from? Philadelphia?
I don't know.
Where'd that fucker live?
We were saying Jenny from the block all weekend because there was legitimately a swimmer that her name would pop up on the board for the heat. Mm-hmm. And her name was Jennifer Lopez.
Shut up.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, Jenny from the block is swimming.
That makes me think of, I don't know if your dad does this. I don't know if Paul is this technologically advanced, but Michael is. That they get on like Facebook or Instagram and they just send you story after story after story after story. And then when you talk to them on the phone, they're like, oh man, did you listen to that story? And I was like, which one of the fucking 5 that you sent me today on which platform, Dad? I don't know. So does your dad do that?
I refused to be friends with my dad on Facebook for probably a decade.
Oh, okay.
Out of principle.
Is that like a hard boundary?
Out of principle, because I was like, no. Because he wasn't even the one that had started his page.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you can't even use it. You don't know how to use it.
Okay.
This isn't happening because you weren't the one that was operating your page.
So I think it's a gift that your dad and you don't associate on social media. Because anybody who's listening and parents do this, they know. They know that sometimes you're just like, oh, would you stop? Would you stop? Like you go on and it's like you have 35 notifications and it's all from your,
I'm
your
friends
parents.
with enough older people or like my friends' parents.
Yes.
To see the kind of stuff.
Don't you remember that I told, because my dad kept sending me all those fart shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't find this funny. And Charles was like, oh, I think that's great. And I was like, you know what, then I'm going to have Michael send them to you. And he does.
I know he does. Charlie loves it.
Yeah. So,
welcome to Two Mystic Mamas. There was a lot of va-va-voom at the end of that.
Za.
There was a lot of za. Did your husband call pizza za?
No.
And sometimes Charlie would be like, I'm going to get a slice of za. It makes me want to punch him. In like a loving way. I wouldn't harm him.
Oh, that's like a kind kick.
Oh my God. Did I tell you what happened last week?
Nope. I mean, I don't know. How am I supposed to go off that? That is not.
Okay, so we were in the kitchen cooking.
Oh, wait. Yes, you did tell me. Is this about the watch?
Yeah, don't give it away. We're in the kitchen cooking, and he slapped me in the nipple with a Tupperware top. I mean, I had a shirt on.
The precision.
But I did not have a bra on.
Was it one of those, like, he slapped you with the whole top or just the side of the top smacked
somehow
your nipple?
He just got my nipple square. Like, okay. And it was a decent sized top, so I don't know what kind
also a decent sized nipple.
Yep, there we go.
So we're all picturing
it was the bigger
getting
boob.
Skadooshed right in the nipple.
I'm sorry, what? Skadooshed in the nipple?
Yeah, that's also from a movie.
Oh, shocking. Krystyn doesn't know it. Anyway, so I had a spoon in my hand, just like a tablespoon, and went to retaliate and kind
a spoon
to
in my
his
hand.
nipple. And at the moment I did, he brought his hand up, and I just absolutely demolished his Apple Watch.
Fantastic.
Yep, it's I caught the corner of it, and I must have hit it just right because the whole screen just shattered. I felt so terrible.
Yeah. You're trying to just
and I wasn't
do something
even like
funny.
It was like one of those quick, like I just was like gonna smack his nipple real quick.
Yeah.
You know? So it was like a short, sweet, like you would with a towel.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have like a lot of force behind it. It's not like I wound up and I was like coming across the room with a spoon.
I'm just envisioning all these things. Cause you're like, I had a spoon, you know, like a tablespoon, but then I immediately pictured you having like a sand shovel.
Jesus.
Instead of a tablespoon.
Like a plastic sand shovel?
Yeah, that'd be so funny.
Just in the kitchen?
Yes.
I just keep it in there?
Right. You don't know.
In order to harm Charles' nipples?
That's right. So you were trying to go back for his nipple.
Yeah, I was trying to go back for his nipple.
So it's like nipple for a nipple.
Exactly.
Eye for an eye.
Yeah.
A nip for a nip.
Right. And right when I did.
I totally would have gone for the balls. Ball tap.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going for the nip. Because he hates it. So he's like, fine.
Does he like his balls being tapped?
Let's go.
Most men I know do not approve of that action.
So today we are talking about winter. All things winter, snow magic, winter elements, transformation, stillness. I mean, we're approaching this with a loose agenda because the events of the past few days have kind of changed the direction that we were going to go with this episode. And that's what we're here for, right? We're here to like go with it. Life is happening.
We can't be something we're not.
Right.
So I can't act like I'm fucking happy because I'm real spicy.
She is a spicy bitch, you guys.
Spicy Scorpio right here.
I know. She's gonna
trying to stay in my lane, but kind of struggling.
You know what your lane's like? Did you ever see that episode of Seinfeld where, oh, look at me referencing something, where Kramer went along the highway and he painted over the lines so he had large luxury lanes and he could just cruise through? That's how I envision you with your staying in your lane. You're like, you know what? That lane's mine and that lane's mine and that lane's mine.
I'm very self-aware of it, and I keep referencing topics that we've talked about: radical acceptance, surrendering, and letting go of shit I can't control. Where I still struggle, and I don't struggle with this. Part of my coping mechanism and how I deal with things that are out of my control but have an effect on me is to talk about them. Get it out of my system. I am not one that holds things in, but I'm very aware that not everybody needs to be the recipient of who I need to talk to. Like, I'm very strategic of like who I need to talk to about certain things. So
you know who your circle is.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, it'll come up. So I'm just going to put it out there. But my husband's brother had been battling pancreatic cancer for a little over a year, and he succumbed to the disease on Saturday. He had been in a tremendous amount of pain. So my brother-in-law George, passed away. And so we've just been coping with that death and dealing with the mindsets that come along with death and what does that mean and how does that feel. And the interesting thing is for me, so naturally, my husband is my best friend, my closest person in this human experience that I'm having. And when you lose somebody, I think it's easy to be like, oh, you should do this and you should do this. And let's not forget about this. And, I start going into the checklist of things, and everybody grieves differently. And I think it's really important because grief is a part of this human experience, that when we have a death that is intimate, that is someone who has been in our life for our complete life, a sibling, that we just allow space for that person to grieve the way that they're supposed to grieve and the way they want to grieve, and just being there. And again, when we met with Jenny and she's like, you're going to need to not smother. It's been coming up pretty good for me to recognize that.
I mean, the timing of that is very intentional.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, I didn't, but he passed on the 11th of January. So 111. And that number, we got that number 3 times yesterday playing bowling. While we were bowling, we kept getting that number. And I thought that was significant. And, the one thing that I told Jeff, because we did not know, naturally we knew he had pancreatic cancer and we knew that he had stopped treatments, but we did not know he was as sick as he was. We did not know that he had entered hospice, and he lives in Michigan, so he's not necessarily local to us. And we were going to try to get up there to, have Jeff say goodbye and everything, which did not come to fruition. And when Jeff got the call Saturday morning, I got up and we were just having coffee together in the living room, and everything was very still. Kids were still sleeping. And, there's that weight that's like, fuck, okay, this is now our new reality. And I said to him, I was like, listen, however you need me, in what capacity, I'm here naturally. And I said, but do yourself a favor and think of something that makes you think about your brother, like a tangible object that reminds you of him, that when you see it, you'll know, but it's special. It's just something like you guys shared, or something that like it's a memory that you hold, not like a feather or, like a coin, something that are just universal messages from the other side, but something specific that you can associate to your brother. And I just left it at that. Like, we didn't have a further discussion about it. And later that day, Jeff had gone to coach wrestling because it was a natural distraction for him. And that's how he copes. That's how he deals with heavy, heavy things, is to distract himself from having to deal with it. And so I showed up and he was like, you are going to believe this because you're the one who told me. He said, but after you asked me to think about that, I was in the shower, and the first thing that came to my mind was this story from watching George wrestle. And George was an avid athlete, like very talented in anything that he did, anything, a lot of running. He was like a very skilled runner, wrestling, I
remember having conversations with Jeff about him coaching swimming, and they had even had some conversations recently, like in the last year, about...
He was honored. He was honored at his high school. He was inducted, for coaching at his high school that he taught at and retired from.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool to see all the outpouring of support and love from his students. Coach DeVore, you had such an impact. Coach DeVore, you made such an imprint in my life, and reading these stories. And so that'll be really endearing to see at the actual viewing and funeral. That'll be wonderful. So I show up to the wrestling match, and Jeff's like, Rachel, he's like, I was in the shower, and this story kept coming up about watching him wrestle. And he's like, I was probably like 6 at the time. And the kid George was wrestling kept headbutting him. And he headbutted him, and it split his eye open, like right through his eyebrow. And so he had his headgear on, and they wrapped basically his whole head in white athletic tape. He's like, and I have the picture somewhere. He's like, I got to find this picture. He's like, I just kept thinking in my brain, white athletic tape. And I got out of the shower, and I'm going to get in the car. And he's like, I have all colors of athletic tape in my wrestling bag that I bring with me to every match. He's like, but I don't have white. And he's like, and I opened the door to put my bag in the back seat, and in Isla's cup holder is a brand new roll of white athletic tape.
It literally gives me goosebumps.
And I just said out loud, like, son of a bitch, Rachel. And I was like, yeah, but how did that make you feel? And he's like, no, I just had this calm that came over me. Like, I hadn't been able to say goodbye to George, and this was him just coming to me saying, it's fine. Like, I'm fine. And when you have someone you love so much that's in that kind of pain, like insurmountable pain that you can't, like, medication's not going to take it away, right? There is such a relief in letting go and surrendering, but in the ultimate way, right? Like, and so, yeah, I'm sad, but I'm so glad that we have a platform that we can, like, talk about this stuff on, because death is inevitable. It will come for all of us in some way, shape, or form. And, we even thought about not bringing the kids, because what does that look like? What does that feel like for them? But this is the first person in their lives that they had a relationship with, and my nieces are, a senior in high school, and I think Lexi's in 8th grade, but they have to be there for their cousins. They have to witness this, right? And I want to do it in a way that is full of love and light and remembering, right? Like, I know when I lost my cousin, Greg, in 2015, he was active in the military, and like all of his brothers came, his fellow Army brothers, and it was unfucking real. It was the camaraderie and the unification of that brotherhood, and it was amazing, and the energy that they brought. And so, yeah, I'm in a place during this session that we're recording where I'm sad and I'm angry, but I'm hopeful, right? So, like, I can be all of those things at the same time. I'm not just one of those things. And it's just, it's kind of starting the year off on a very somber note,
When you were talking about having coffee with him, right? I could feel like it took me back to those moments where you have it's so heavy that all the avoidance and distractions and shit that runs through our brains all the time just literally magically melt away. And you're so in that moment of feeling that heaviness. And that, I think, when you lose someone that you love, it happens at different times for different people. But I think everybody knows what that heaviness feels like.
Yep.
And that stillness is something that I feel like we can go back to with less heaviness and have a moment where we like reconnect with those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the winter, to kind of wrap in where we're at in the season, naturally offers that.
For sure. I mean,
that ability for us to go back to that place.
It had freshly snowed Friday night into Saturday morning. So there was probably like a fresh 2 inches outside. I mean, there was so much symbolism that existed in that moment and throughout that day that continues. Like, it will continue to come through as we go through the events that are going to take place and the experiences that we will have. And I think there's so much control that can happen, right, in these situations where, like, you envision it being a certain way and you want certain things to happen. And there's so much just letting go of what you can't control. And, naturally everybody wants to heal the people we love, and that's not always possible, and surrendering to that too. George made a conscious decision to not do treatment anymore because it wasn't working and he was in so much pain. Mm-hmm. And there's beauty in that. There's beauty in making that decision for yourself.
Right.
So, anyways.
If you are in a space where you're grieving or somebody that's grieving, we will put some resources in the description of this episode for you to reach out to. I worked on a project not long ago that was all about grief. And each song was about the different stages of grief. Mm. And it was related to the ocean. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've listened to it, but it was that feeling, that heaviness, right? And then it was the sinking feeling, being at the bottom of the ocean, then floating, and then being at the shore, but still looking up and seeing that you have this giant cliff ahead of you to conquer, even though you've made it back to the shore, right? Mm-hmm. And just all the steps that are involved with the grief process. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are going through, whether it's like very sudden grief that they didn't expect, or something like cancer that we know the score, unfortunately, but,
right.
But it still packs a punch that you can't describe.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And I love the symbolism behind that, because I think the other thing that I just feel that it's important to mention is like walking through every stage of that is really important. And it takes people different amounts of time to do that, but not being stuck. I know plenty of people that have lost people that there was no moving forward. It was like, this is now just where I am. And it's a choice. It is 100% a choice. And I'm of the mindset, and where I stand on my belief system is the body dies, but the soul lives on. And I very much believe that George is near and he's loving everyone in the same way he always did. And he will continue to do that. And that's my belief. That's my belief. And so death it's not as scary, because I feel like they're never that far away.
Right.
They're always there. It's just we choose to not believe in something we can't see.
Naturally. Yeah. It's so beautiful that you were able to give Jeff that moment with his brother, though, to connect in a different way.
Yeah. I hope it continues, because it's one of those things too, the way the death works, and you won't know what's a trigger until it happens. My sister-in-law, she sent me a text and she was providing an update because their dad my father-in-law has been very ill as well. And she's like, yeah, so I only have to text one brother now. And I was like, yeah, that's a trigger. And it's things like that you're just like, fuck, okay.
You don't see it coming.
You don't see it coming, and then you're just dealt with it. And I think it's just important to just really be in the moment, right? And be supportive of where people are. What's that saying that's like all over the internet now? Like, we understand and we don't judge. Or
we listen and we don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge. Yeah. I think that's like really critical, because like, again, we all have these preconceived ideas and beliefs and whatever of how things should be handled and how we would handle them. And, that's all well and good to have those thoughts go through your brain, but it's like what you do with them then, right? And just allowing people to be where they are and comforting them where they are. I keep seeing those things too, like right now with all the fires. It's like, don't tell people that it'll all be fine and they can buy new possessions when they've lost their homes. Like, don't go in preaching to these people. Just be. And I think that's important for me in this place too, is I just need to let everybody that I care a lot about process this, however they're going to process this, including my children, So, including myself.
Right.
And just be the helper. Be the helper. In the situations that you can't control, be like Mr. Rogers. Just look for the helpers. Yep. Look for the people that are being good humans and that are helping others.
think there's a valuable lesson in what you said, though, in terms of letting people be where they're at. And I don't think we have to wait for a tragedy to happen to meet people where they're at. And I think we spend so much time in our ego thinking that things have to be a certain way because of our own either lived or perceived experiences, that we think that people need to behave in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggle with this in general when it comes to the social construct of our world, right? Just in general. But I think that it's a good reminder that we can meet people where they're at and they don't have to change because we think they have to change. They don't have to grieve in a certain way or love in a certain way or behave in a certain way just because we think they need to.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that also pertains to people that we don't get on with, too, right? Like, not just the people that we love, but like, you know, people that we have to be around or work with or whatever, right?
Yeah. There's just so much symbolism, you know, for George passing in the winter and it's cold, and it's a time of reflection and renewal and naturally setting intentions. And though it's sad, it was in divine time. It was the way that it was always going to be. The other thing I think that like really pisses me off, again, radical acceptance here, but like when people are like, oh, he's too young. Like, what the fuck does that? Like, I wish people would stop saying that because it's all relative. And I feel like it's one of those sayings that like people just have heard throughout time. So they just repeat it.
Well, people are uncomfortable by the idea and they don't know how to respond. They literally don't know what to say.
Yeah. And
so shit like that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah. And I'm just like,
whether it's relevant or not relevant or whatever.
Right. You know? So
what would be, okay, so we know the things that piss us off when we're grieving. What do you think are some suggestions that you could give to our listeners if they have someone in their life who's grieving that would be beneficial, or something that they could say or they could do that would actually support and honor the process that they're going through rather than pissing them the fuck off?
Yeah, I mean, you know, naturally everyone has their own like quirks, right? But I think for me, one of the biggest things when you go to celebrate the life that was is telling stories and talking about funny things, talking about highlighting the person and in their passions and what they love to do, what brought them joy, and talking about that, because so much of dying is the reflection of that person, right? Because not too many people I know, there are some that have written their own obituaries and they're fucking amazing. I love reading obituaries in the first present tense where people have written them for themselves. There are some really, really good ones out there.
I feel like this is something we should do. Not to like,
but so let's plan our deaths.
Okay, wait, no, but instead of like, you know, we do vision boarding and all of this stuff. But like, if you actually wrote your own obituary, what would that look like?
Right,
I've
totally.
never thought about that before.
Okay, so I think that's one thing. I think when you're dealing with somebody in a situation where grief is present, I think bringing in humor and love is always at the forefront, right? So I think just
shedding light to who they were.
Yeah, just saying, oh, you know, tell me about that person. What's one of your favorite memories that you have with that person? Just trying to reflect on the life that was, you know, because again, it is all relative, right? Like people die every single day at all different ages. And I do believe it's in divine time. And I do believe that we don't know the meaning behind everything and why it happens in the moment. Sometimes it's clearer to others why things happen. So I would say that, you know, like.
I would also say that your communication style needs to change based on how you're communicating with them, whether it is a phone call, a text message.
For sure.
If you're sending condolences on Facebook, obviously that's going to look like way different in terms of communication.
Yeah.
But I would say like actually having conversations with people is the best way to go.
Yeah. And I think too, like.
If they're open to it.
If they're open to it. And because on the flip side of that, I think sometimes I know I struggle with this when there's silence. I feel like I have to fill the silence with something.
Right.
where silence can be very therapeutic. And there's a lot that can be said without actually being said anything. And that's a lesson in humility.
I think about that often, though, because
sometimes I feel like I talk way too much. I mean, it's great for the podcast naturally because no one wants to listen to a silent podcast.
I mean, maybe a silent podcast
where nothing is said.
I used to be a person that felt like I had to speak all the time. And then I didn't feel the need to be that anymore, just with my own pattern. That was when I was much younger, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, I often relate it to music because music doesn't sound the way it does to our ears unless we have moments of silence. So if it's just nonstop music and you didn't have rests, it wouldn't be interesting anymore. It wouldn't have the same emotion anymore. So the pauses, the rests, the silence, those are so important to creating so many beautiful works of music.
I love that you brought music up. One of the things I wrote down to talk about today, and this is true with this time of year, is planning. You know, planning for the year, planning for the month, or you could call it manifesting, depending on what you're planning. But planning for death. Also, we don't talk about that often enough in this society. But I know that when my parents die, which I hope goes in the way that it's supposed to go, right? Like, we're supposed to bury our parents. They're not supposed to bury us kind of deal, right? The way the human trajectory is kind of laid out. I have very distinct ideas that I've talked with both of them about related to their celebration of life parties, basically.
Right.
And music is, for my dad, that's like the highlight. Like, I think about that in general, and I think that music plays such a beautiful role in grief. I know for myself personally that when I have been grieving animals or friends that have passed or family members, I haven't had a ton of family members that I've been super close with. There's been a handful, my grandparents, but music has always played a huge, huge role. Huge role.
Oh, I agree wholly with that.
And so I think that's another thing that can be really useful in grief is music.
Yeah. I think just talking about it too, to your point, both of my parents forever have been wildly avoidant, that they're never going to die, that's not something they want to talk about or think about or plan for. I mean, there are no plans.
We have to normalize it. We really do.
And it's not even a conversation you can broach. Now, there have been like conversations where my dad will joke about how he wants like a New Orleans style
walk down the street
with jazz music and everything.
Yeah.
Right. And again, music is super important. And I can see him wanting that. Like, I don't know how you'd pull that off in Wexford, but
we'll have to just dress up.
Right.
I know that spirit communicates through music. So messages will be received. So my brother-in-law loved Billy Ocean. But do you know what Billy Ocean sings? When the going gets tough, the tough get go. And what's the one? Get out of my dreams. Get into my car. So I put some stories up over the weekend about it, right? And I used that music, and it's like, my brother died. Going the going gets tough. The tough get good. It's like, people were probably like, what?
Wow, Rachel, you're so insensitive.
Like, I don't understand the correlation here. But now, you know, if you know the story and how much he loved Billy Ocean, it makes sense. Like when my dad passes, oh my God, people should be prepared for a fucking concert.
There you go.
Oh, I never revisited the story about why my dad sends me all those stories on social media. He sent me a story about a girl who won Britain's Got Talent. Her name's Sydney Christmas. She's fucking amazing. And the whole reason I was telling you this was because her middle name is Mary.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. So there you go.
Was this all spurred by the Jennifer Lopez thing?
Yes, my ADHD brain now has come back and made this story final. Jesus. Oh my God. Okay.
So I think that we can talk about some things that we do in the winter to embrace the spirit, because like you're saying, spirit not only talks to us through music, but through nature.
For sure.
Last night, we were outside and our owl was a hootin'.
Do you record him?
No, I should though.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, he's so loud. Last night it was like real still and you could just hear him so prominently.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I've seen him a couple of times.
They're super
He's
symbolic.
Big motherfucker.
Really?
Yeah. Big motherfucker.
We do not have an owl. I want an owl. I have a hawk.
I want one.
I want an owl.
I want an owl.
Jeffrey, give me an owl. Actually, I do not want an owl. I don't know why I'm saying that. I do not want to manifest a fucking bird. We have a chinchilla.
I have owls and crows and hawks. Again, with the Merlin app, we can go back to it. I actually saw a reel recently and it was talking about, you're like in your 40s and it was like one of the things was when you use your bird calling app to see what kind of birds they are.
Yes. Do you know how many times I've 100%. Recommended this app to people? I know,
it's so great.
I'm like, oh, do you have the Merlin
you know
app?
What? I'm going to go out right now and we're going to sponsor the Merlin app.
Yes.
We're not going to receive anything in return for this, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the Two Mystic Mamas are sponsoring the Merlin app that is put out by Cornell University.
Yeah, no, it's a great app and I love it. We've talked about it multiple times.
Yeah, there's our first big sponsor.
If you don't know, you need that app. So, well, to your point about, some of the rituals too, I think this is a great time to, if you have like an altar or if you have just a space in your home where you have maybe you have some candles, your crystals, your tarot cards, or your books, just kind of like a spiritual space, whatever that looks like for you. And if you don't have one, I implore you to create one. Doesn't need to be very big.
It doesn't need to be big, but you can also create an ice altar.
Oh, outside.
You can, and you can take, I would recommend a plastic or silicone bowl of some sort, fill it with water, add in, I would get those little sticky things that you can put taper candles in before you fill it with water. So do long taper candles and fill it with water and dried herbs and evergreen and dried oranges and whatever it is that you want to put in and put it outside if you are in frigid country like we are, and freeze it and create your own little ice altar. Then you can just peel the plastic bowl off of it, light your candles, and you have a nice little...
Oh, that's beautiful.
Magical ice.
Yeah, and that doesn't need to be big too. That can be like a tiny little guy too.
Right. I have a silicone snowman mold that's for like a cake or something.
Yes.
I'm going to do that.
I have egg bite. I could make little ice balls.
You could do little tea lights in them.
Yeah. That's a good one too. But just refreshing your altar with the elements that do symbolize and exemplify the winter months. So lots of evergreen, sage, pine. Evergreen trees exist in these elements. They don't lose their leaves.
They are evergreen.
Evergreen. Forever green. Oh my God.
It's going to be the title of my next album, Forever Green.
Forever green. Forever green.
I don't have a album. I said that like I have an album. That's how.
You have an album. You have a series of books. You have all the things. Album. All right, so let's lighten this episode up a little bit now that you guys know everything that's going on, because naturally the podcast is also my platform for therapy.
Oh, well, I think we can just move right into the light. I was thinking about this when I was planning. One of my favorite Harry Potter quotes is Dumbledore. And he says, happiness can be found in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light. Mm-hmm. I love Harry Potter. I do too. Big fan. Big fan. Okay, so what are some of the things that you do to like keep it light and connect with winter right now?
The biggest thing that I have been finding is rest. That just seems to be like a theme that keeps coming up for me, is being in a rest place. So it's not that like I can't get work done, but it's more in the sense that just keeping things very chill, very calm, trying to navigate the waters of winter sports in conjunction with school, in conjunction with the holidays, has been just my theme is how do I still incorporate rest? How do I still incorporate me having that, having, time to reflect, time to be still and not being on the go all of the time. And especially with the snow, it makes it nice because it provides that there's like a calmness in the air after a good snow where everything is so chill and quiet.
We were really lucky to have so many beautiful snows on top of one another over the last couple of weeks.
But not like debilitating snow, right? Like,
we didn't get like 3 feet at once,
but
we did get like 4 or 5 inches here and then another 4 or 5 inches and an inch or two.
Yes. Yeah. It's been real cool. And just, I think, breathing in that cold air.
That's a big thing. And there's a lot of people that do this for the new year, but also for full moons and new moons. In the winter, the energy in your house can get very stagnant. So opening up your front and your back door or your windows, something like that. I know it's not great for energy conservation, but especially if you live in a cold climate, but opening something up in your home to allow energy to flow through, let the old exit, welcome in the new.
And that can be quick. You're talking like 30 seconds, maybe a minute. It's not like you're like leaving it open for hours.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that's true. It's just it's like that, the swirling of, right?
Well, and it's the same thing goes with clutter in our house, right? When we have corners, areas, furniture that get cluttered with stuff, energy stagnates there and it makes it much harder. There's so much research on our ability to be clear-headed.
Yes.
And move forward in our lives.
Yes.
Around our spaces.
Yep. And I would agree with that. I will showcase a picture of my main living area in my house, but I have really been thinking about that too, because I've always just gotten used to the fact that we cook so much in the house that like everything just can live on the countertops. And I've been having dreams and visions of changing that, where I want to actually build something on the counter where I can I forget what they're called, but it's basically to put appliances that live on the counter, but it's like you close the door on them so they're hidden.
I love that.
Everything has a place. And I think that for me has been that's a bit of a game changer. So right now I'm in a transition where I went through Isla's room and got rid of a ton of stuff. Now it's in the hallway and I have to now take it to the next step to be like, okay, am I donating this? Am I going to sell this? What am I doing with this stuff? But it's the act of, right? So just taking a step at a time to be like, get it out of one room, get it in the hallway, have it be present there so you know that you have to execute on it, but get in the flow of going through. Okay. Going through.
Every time that we have purged stuff from our house, our life has opened up in some way. Every single time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It always works. Our mantra for this year as a family is don't put it down, put it away. And if you go to put it away and it doesn't have a home, then you have to make a choice on whether you need it or not.
Yeah.
But if you come in and you put your stuff down versus you putting it away where it's supposed to go, makes everybody's fucking life easier.
So much better.
I know. And I don't like clutter. I'm looking at my house right now and I have a laundry basket over here. We just got home last night from being away for a swim meet. And I have, coolers that are unpacked and haven't been put away yet from the weekend and this, that, and the other.
Yep.
And it is driving me bat shit crazy.
Yes. But the winter is a good time to do that, right? Because we're inside. So take the time and go through your room one at a time. And it can be a project that, you do a little bit here and a little bit there. I have really found another interesting place in my house that I have found refuge is in my bathroom. So I have really gotten in the habit of when I go to take a shower, I light candles, I sage, and it allows, I had the most magical shower yesterday, given everything that has happened over the weekend. And I cried and I put music on and I just let go and I let everything wash over me. I did a little ritual before I got in, just opening up my chakras, calling in God and my team of light and just talking openly about what had happened, what's going to continue to happen, just guiding me, being there, being present. And so my bathroom has become a little bit of a sanctuary for me. And I have a tiny bathroom, but like cleaning the counter space off, making sure that the clothes are in the hamper, not on the floor, changing the bath mat out once a week. Like little things that I really didn't do before mean something to me when I go in to take a bath or a shower now.
Yeah, I love that for you. I love a magical shower. I mean, Charlie got me a bath tray for Christmas that's so fantastic. And I haven't had one up until this point because I do love a really good Epsom salt bath. And he got me a whole bunch of Epsom salts. But showers with your significant other, like we have some of our best brainstorming, some of our best emotional moments. Like I can't explain to you how much I love taking a shower with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love a shower for myself too, but even more, I love taking a shower with him.
Yeah. It's like a working meeting.
It is like not to be a meeting, but just to be like, let's just get in the shower.
Well, it's another form of intimacy.
It is.
Yeah. And I think too, because I will say I'm not a big sex in the shower kind of person.
It doesn't have to lead to sex.
No,
right?
exactly. Like I'm saying take sex out of it. Like this is not like sexy time. This is more, because I love that too. I love just it's intimate and it's raw and it's real, but there is something symbolic about the water and the steam and letting go.
Well, and you can use the same elements of that water outside right now if you have snow in your area, is going out and breathing in that cold air and allowing, like visualizing the cleansing process of whatever it is that you feel like you need to let go of. Or even if you don't know what it is that you have to let go of, asking for assistance from spirit guides to help guide you. Like, what do I need to let go of? Getting in touch with them can be so beautiful. And I know we talk about this a lot. And I had a moment this morning. So I do a reading for myself every morning. And I was at my altar and, you know, I got up early this morning and I lit my candles in different areas of the houses. And then like I went back and had time with Charlie and whatever. And then when I came back to do my reading, it's very much a, what do I need? Just kind of guide me. Sometimes I'll have something that I really want an answer to, but most of the time it's, what do I need to learn right now? Right. And so I pulled my card. I went to go sit down with my journal to write in everything that I was receiving and downloading and feeling. And somewhere in there, I got distracted, which normally does not happen for me. Like I usually go from point A to point B. I do my journaling. I have a routine. I don't get on my phone. Like it's something I do every day. But today I got super hyper distracted. And then it became very clear that the message they were sending me is, what is distracting you right now? What is distracting you from where you want to be, how you want to be? And I'm finally in this place where I'm feeling tuned in to be able to listen to those messages and receive them and not be like beating myself up because I got distracted by something, but rather I was like, oh shit, like this is not a normal thing for me. What am I being distracted by in my life right now that's taking me in a direction that maybe I don't want to be going in? I think it's, I don't know. If we can just like get still, cleanse yourself, listen, like the messages are fucking there for us.
For sure.
And we know them.
You know, I wrote down here that January, the word January, it's Latin from the word linearius. Linearius?
Sounds like an STD.
It does, doesn't it? And it has to do with the Roman god Janus, which is the god of doorways, which I think is interesting because there's so much symbolism into what doorways signify, right? Like entering the flow of energy through a doorway, letting the negative of the past that no longer serves go out through another doorway, the entrance of new opportunities. So the god of doorways. I was like, that is so beautiful. Plus it's, you know, January is the number one. It's the first month of the year. And so I think there's just so much symbolism in the month of January that can take us through the rest of the months and like you build on it.
Right, because we're just coming into, while we might have had a calendar new year at the beginning of January, here in the third week of January, we come into the Lunar New Year. And that's really the energetic
New Year. Correct, yeah.
For a lot of people. I mean, if you are in the Wiccan community, the New Year does happen at the end of October, moving into November. So depending on what your belief systems are, there's basically a huge transformational time that happens between the end of October and the end of January. And if you go back and think about all the things you're feeling in your life, I would bet that you can kind of pinpoint some of those dates.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a gratitude ritual for us today?
I do. I have a winter blessing visualization exercise for everybody. So if you're driving, push pause and come back to this.
Boop, boop. Don't close your eyes while you're driving, please.
Yeah, tell Siri to set a reminder and come back to this when you get home. But I want you to find a quiet, comfortable space where you can close your eyes and really sink into stillness for me.
I'm doing this as she's talking, so I'm no longer going to be talking.
This is a first, you guys. All right. Take a deep breath in. And I want you to feel cool air filling your lungs as you breathe in and out. Exhale slowly. Take another deep breath in. Feel cool air filling your lungs. And when you exhale this time, release all that no longer serves you. Now imagine yourself standing at the edge of a snow-covered forest. The world around you is quiet, and you can see soft, glistening white everywhere you look. Every breath that you take feels clean. You can feel that crispness in your lungs. It's as if winter itself is filling your soul with clarity. I want you to take a step into the forest where you notice the trees are bare but very alive. The roots are deep in the earth, frozen, and holding ancient wisdom beneath the surface that supports all of us. Breathing in and out, you can feel the stillness. You can feel the trees' patience. And you can feel their never-ending trust in the circle of life that they will be reborn again. I want you to walk further until you come into a clearing where the ground is just lightly dusted with snow. And in the center, there's a fire burning, steady and warm, not wild, but just a symbol that life persists even in the coldest of times. You're going to find a comfortable, cozy spot in your mind to sit by that fire and gaze into the flames. And in the flames, your fear, your doubt, and anything that feels heavy is burning away. And with each crackle that you hear, you're feeling release. You're feeling trust that this is a season of rest and renewal for you. I want you to sit in this sacred space for me and feel the gifts that winter has surrounding you. The gift of stillness offering us clarity. The gift of death making room for rebirth. The gift of darkness inviting you to find your inner light. Now I want you, when you feel ready, to place your hands over your heart And you can say this in your mind's eye or out loud. May I honor the cycles of life, death, and rebirth within me. May I find peace in the stillness of winter. And may I trust in the light that always returns. Take a deep breath in, and I just want you to feel this settle into your heart, warm and glowing, radiating out through your entire body. And when you're ready, open your eyes and feel the quiet strength of winter right next to you.
That was so good.
Yay. Welcome back, friends.
Mm.
I hope you feel a sense of renewal, calm, inner warmth.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Good. Thank you guys for being here today. I know this has been a raw episode, and it wasn't one that was anticipated, but I'm really glad that we were able to talk about this topic and support Rachel and her family and any of you guys that are dealing with grief right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you to the universe. Thank you to you, Krystyn, for your support, and Charles throughout this whole thing. It definitely brings people together, whether they like it or not. More so, hopefully they like it. But I feel like there is a deep sense of beauty that can be found in times of struggle and times of sadness. And that's the biggest takeaway for me, is just we're all walking each other home, and we're all having a human experience. And so I appreciate the energy that this podcast gives us. I appreciate the energy that our listeners send to us, that we send to our listeners. I appreciate the scope of what this work is that we are doing, and that when life is dealt, we are able to talk about it, and we're able to share from a place of authenticity and realness, coupled in with how do we continue to grow and learn and be better humans than we were yesterday. So yeah, I'm very, very, very grateful for this opportunity.
I love this podcast so much.
I do too.
I would have never guessed that I would be here right now where we're at in life.
Yeah.
And who knows where we'll be in another year,
I know.
2 years, 5 years, 7 years.
Still doing this.
Absolutely.
Still talking.
Absolutely.
Still sharing. Still incorporating other humans into this, and loving on each other, supporting each other, walking each other home.
We love you guys. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
If you need help with grief or somebody to talk to, feel free to hit our inbox. Honestly, we'd love to lift you up and support you. Our email is twomysticmamas@gmail.com, and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you guys later.
Over and out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.